The crash of breaking glass echoed through the cavernous study. Thaddeus Ravenwood watched dispassionately as the tumbler of 30-year-old scotch shattered against the marble fireplace, amber liquid dripping down the stone like tears. "Sir, shall I clean that up?" Jenkins stood at the doorway, his posture perfect despite the late hour. "Leave it." Thaddeus turned back to the wall of monitors displaying his empire. Ravenwood Technologies stock price up 3.2% today, another record quarter. Numbers that once meant everything and now meant nothing. The pain hit without warning, a vice grip around his chest. Thaddeus clutched at his silk shirt as the room tilted sideways. His knees buckled. The last thing he heard was Jenkins shouting his name and the frantic clicking of Winston's nails on the hardwood floor as his faithful Doberman rushed to his side. When he opened his eyes, the clinical white ceiling of Lake Tahoe Private Hospital greeted him. Dr. Ellsworth, who had treated the Ravenwood family for decades, stood at the foot of his bed reviewing charts. "You're lucky Jenkins called the helicopter. 5 more minutes, and we wouldn't be having this conversation." Thaddeus attempted to sit up, immediately regretting it. "When can I leave?" "That's what you have to say? You had a major cardiac event, Thaddeus. Your body is shutting down from stress, isolation, and neglect. You need to make changes. I have a company to run. You won't be running anything from a grave." Dr. Ellsworth's bluntness was why Thaddeus kept him on retainer. "I'm prescribing medication, therapy, and human interaction. Without significant lifestyle changes, I give you 8 months. Maybe less." Thaddeus turned toward the window. Through the glass, Lake Tahoe sparkled in the distance, the same view his wife Elizabeth had loved before the crash took her and their daughter Sophia. "Perhaps that's for the best." The doctor sighed. "Your family wouldn't want this for you." "My family isn't here to want anything." Thaddeus closed his eyes, dismissal clear. 3 days later, against medical advice, Thaddeus returned to his 20,000-square-foot lakeside estate. The modernist structure of glass and steel stood like a sentinel among the pines, beautiful and cold, like its owner, according to the business press. Jenkins had prepared his usual breakfast: egg whites, avocado toast, black coffee, served in the solarium overlooking the lake. "The quarterly board meeting begins in 30 minutes, sir. Your tablet is prepared with the presentation materials." Thaddeus nodded, scrolling through emails. Another acquisition completed, another competitor absorbed. The empire grew while its emperor withered. "There's one more item, sir." Jenkins hesitated. "Governor Everly's office has called 3 times this week." Thaddeus looked up sharply. "The new governor? What does she want?" "Her office says she's conducting outreach to Nevada's business leaders. She's requesting a meeting." "Decline." "I did, sir. She's quite persistent. Her chief of staff mentioned something about your company's tax incentives being up for renewal next quarter." A thinly veiled threat. Politicians, always the same game. "Fine. Tell her office I'll do a 15-minute video call next month." "She specifically requested an in-person meeting, sir." Thaddeus laughed bitterly. "Then she'll be specifically disappointed. I haven't left this property for anything but medical emergencies in 2 years. I'm not breaking that streak for some ambitious politician's photo opportunity." On screen, a notification appeared, a news alert about Governor Meridian Everly's rising approval ratings. Her face filled the screen, intelligent eyes, determined expression, no trace of the typical politician's plastic smile. "She's making waves," Jenkins commented. "Youngest governor in Nevada history. Former prosecutor with quite the record against corporate fraud." "Is that a warning, Jenkins?" "Merely an observation, sir. Her office mentioned she'll be in the Lake Tahoe area tomorrow." The answer is still no. Thaddeus closed the news alert, but not before noticing the headline below. "Governor Everly takes on reclusive billionaires." A direct challenge. He stood, intending to retreat to his office, when the pain returned, sharper this time. The room spun. Winston whined anxiously as Thaddeus gripped the table edge. Jenkins was instantly at his side. "Sir, should I call Dr. Ellsworth?" Thaddeus waved him away, fighting to control his breathing. When the pain finally subsided, he found himself trembling. Death was circling closer. The realization should have frightened him, but all he felt was a hollow acceptance. What was left to live for? An empire built on ones and zeros? An empty house haunted by memories? "Sir," Jenkins' voice pulled him back. "What shall I tell the governor's office?" Thaddeus stared out at the lake, remembering Elizabeth's last words before boarding the fatal flight. Life's too short to hide from the world, Thad. Tell them whatever you want. It doesn't matter. As he retreated to his study, Thaddeus didn't notice Jenkins watching him with concern, nor did he see his loyal servant reaching for the phone, his expression resolute. The chess pieces were moving, though Thaddeus didn't yet realize he was part of a game about to change dramatically. Governor Meridian Everly slammed her office door, the sound reverberating through the Nevada State Capitol's East Wing. 3 newspapers lay scattered across her desk, their headlines glaring up at her. Too young to lead? Everly out of her depth. Governor's economic plan, naive at best. I take it the press conference didn't go well, said Alicia Hansen, her chief of staff, looking up from her tablet. They ambushed me with questions about the tech sector, questions I wasn't briefed on. Meridian kicked off her heels and paced the ornate office. At 38, she was the youngest governor in Nevada's history and, as the press never tired of pointing out, the least experienced. Senator Caldwell was behind it, Alicia said. His aide was coaching that reporter from the Tribune before you walked in. Meridian ran her fingers through her auburn hair. Of course he was. Caldwell and his dinosaur friends can't stand that I beat their hand-picked candidate. Which is why we need to move forward with the Economic Revitalization Initiative. Show them you mean business. Alicia handed her a folder. The final list of Nevada's top 20 business leaders. We've secured meetings with 18 of them. Who's holding out? Vernon Hargrove from Pinnacle Investments and Thaddeus Ravenwood from Ravenwood Technologies. Meridian stopped pacing. Ravenwood? The recluse. The one and only. No public appearances since his family's accident 5 years ago. Runs his entire empire from that fortress on Lake Tahoe. And he declined our request for a meeting? His staff did. 3 times. Meridian's eyes narrowed. What's his contribution to the state economy? Alicia consulted her tablet. Substantial. Ravenwood Technologies employs over 4,000 Nevadans. Annual tax revenue to the state exceeds $70 million. And that's with the current incentives, which, coincidentally, are up for renewal next quarter. Perfect. Meridian smiled, a gleam of determination in her eyes. Perfect? His assistant practically hung up on me. Ravenwood needs something from us. We need something from him. That's politics, Alicia. You're not seriously thinking of going after him? The man hasn't left his property in years. People say he's unstable. People said I was too young to be governor. People talk. Meridian pulled her shoes back on. What's my schedule tomorrow? Economic briefing at 9, budget meeting at 11, lunch with the education board, then cancel the afternoon appointments. I'll be in Lake Tahoe. Alicia's eyes widened. You're going to just show up at his door? Meridian, this isn't prosecuting white-collar criminals. You can't strong-arm a billionaire. Watch me. Meridian grabbed her coat. This administration will not be dismissed by reclusive tech moguls who think they're above civic responsibility. Later that evening, Meridian sat alone in the governor's mansion, a glass of wine in one hand and Ravenwood's file in the other. The man was a riddle. MIT at 16, first patent at 19, billionaire by 30. Photos from before his seclusion showed a commanding presence, tall, with intense eyes and an intimidating intelligence. Her phone buzzed, her father calling from his university office. How's my favorite governor? Professor Charles Everly's warm voice filled the line. Struggling with public perception and stubborn billionaires, she admitted. Her father chuckled. So a typical Tuesday. I don't know how to make them see past my age, Dad. The same way you always have, by being smarter and working harder than everyone in the room. Meridian smiled, remembering how her parents, both tenured professors, had instilled those values. Growing up on university campuses, she'd learned early that respect came from competence, not authority. There's this tech CEO, Ravenwood. Refuses to even meet with me. The infamous Thaddeus Ravenwood. I read his dissertation years ago. Brilliant mind. Well, his brilliant mind is now being wasted hiding from the world. Perhaps he's hiding for a reason, Mary. She sighed. I need his support for my economic initiative. Without the tech sector backing me, the old guard will tear it apart. Then find common ground. Your mother always said the best way to reach difficult people is to understand what they've lost. After they hung up, Meridian researched deeper into Ravenwood's background. The accident that claimed his family was a private jet crash, engine failure during a storm. No survivors except Thaddeus, who had changed his flight at the last minute due to a business emergency. There was something in his story that resonated with her. The isolation, the scrutiny, the pressure to prove oneself. As different as their situations were, they shared the burden of exceptional expectations. Morning brought clarity. As her security detail drove her toward Lake Tahoe, Meridian rehearsed her approach. This wasn't about bullying or threats. This was about building a bridge where others had failed. The Ravenwood estate came into view, a modernist marvel of steel and glass perched on the lake's edge. 3 security checkpoints later, her car pulled up to the main entrance. "Wait here," she instructed her security team, straightening her blazer. The massive front door opened before she could knock. An impeccably dressed older man regarded her with surprise. "Governor Everly, we weren't expecting you." "That's apparent, Mr. Jenkins, ma'am. I serve as Mr. Ravenwood's personal assistant." "Well, Jenkins, I'd like to speak with Mr. Ravenwood." "I'm afraid that won't be possible. Mr. Ravenwood isn't accepting visitors." "I'm not a visitor. I'm the governor of Nevada." She held his gaze, unflinching. A tense moment passed before Jenkins stepped aside. "I'll inform Mr. Ravenwood of your arrival. Though I must warn you, he may refuse to see you. Then he can tell me that himself." As Jenkins led her through the austere interior, Meridian steeled herself. She hadn't fought her way to the governor's office by backing down from difficult conversations. Whatever awaited her beyond the study doors, she was ready. Thaddeus was reviewing acquisition proposals when Jenkins entered his study. The interruption was unwelcome. These morning hours were sacred, the only time his mind felt truly sharp. "What is it, Jenkins?" "Sir, Governor Everly is here." Thaddeus looked up, certain he'd misheard. "Here? In Nevada?" "Here in the foyer, sir." A moment of stunned silence followed. No one simply appeared at his door, especially not public officials. His security protocols were designed specifically to prevent such intrusions. How did she get past the gates? She has a rather persuasive security detail and official credentials. Thaddeus felt a surge of anger at the invasion of his sanctuary, at Jenkins for allowing it, but mostly at the presumption of this woman who thought her title granted her access to his private domain. "Send her away." "I don't believe that would be wise, sir. She seems quite determined." "I don't care if she's determined. This is my home." "Sir, if I may." Jenkins hesitated, something he rarely did. "The timing of this visit, considering your recent health concerns and the company's pending tax negotiations." The implication was clear. Thaddeus rubbed his temples, feeling the familiar tightness that preceded pain. "Fine. 5 minutes. Not in my study." "The East Terrace." Jenkins nodded. "Very good, sir." Alone again, Thaddeus stood and moved to the window. This Governor Everly was either incredibly bold or incredibly foolish. Either way, she'd wasted a trip. He had no interest in political photo opportunities or superficial alliances. The East Terrace overlooked the lake, the morning sun casting diamonds across the water. Thaddeus positioned himself against the railing, his back to the entrance. Let her approach him, a small power play, but one that established the dynamic. He heard the terrace door open, followed by the confident click of heels on stone. "Mr. Ravenwood," a clear, authoritative voice addressed him. "Thank you for seeing me." He turned slowly, taking in the woman before him. Governor Meridian Everly was younger than he'd expected, probably late 30s, with intelligent eyes that assessed him just as carefully as he studied her. Her posture spoke of someone accustomed to commanding rooms, despite her relative youth. "I wasn't aware I had a choice," he replied coldly. "You've gone to extraordinary lengths to invade my privacy, Governor." If his hostility fazed her, she didn't show it. Extraordinary circumstances require extraordinary measures. Your assistant made it clear conventional channels weren't working. Did it occur to you there might be a reason for that? She smiled, though it didn't reach her eyes. Of course, people avoid meetings for 3 reasons. They're too busy, they're hiding something, or they're afraid. The presumption ignited his temper. Or perhaps they simply value their privacy, a concept you seem unfamiliar with. Privacy is a luxury, Mr. Ravenwood. Public service is my priority. And forcing your way into private residences furthers that service? When the resident employs thousands of Nevadans and contributes significantly to our economy. Yes. She stepped closer, undaunted. Your company benefits from considerable tax advantages that come up for renewal soon. Those advantages exist to encourage corporate participation in state initiatives. Oh, Thaddeus's voice hardened. So this is extortion dressed as civic duty. Governor Everly's expression tightened. This is governance, Mr. Ravenwood. Something you might understand if you hadn't withdrawn from society entirely. The accusation struck closer to home than he cared to admit. You know nothing about me or my choices. I know enough. 5 years hiding in this fortress while the world moves on. Your innovation stagnating. Your influence waning. Thaddeus felt his chest constricting, familiar warning signs. He gripped the railing, fighting to maintain composure. You've said your piece, Governor. Now leave. She stepped forward, challenge in her eyes. I haven't even started. My economic revitalization initiative would. The pain hit suddenly, a vice around his heart. Thaddeus gasped, knees buckling as he clutched his chest. The world tilted, voices grew distant. Through tunneling vision, he saw the governor's expression change from confrontation to alarm. Mr. Ravenwood? Mr. Ravenwood. Cool hands grasped his shoulders, lowering him to a sitting position against the railing. The governor's face came into focus, professional detachment replaced by genuine concern. Jenkins, she called out, her voice steady despite the urgency. I need help out here. Thaddeus tried to speak, to dismiss her concern, but couldn't form the words. Oxygen seemed to evade his lungs. Breathe with me, she instructed, her tone shifting to something calmer, almost gentle. Slowly, in through your nose, out through your mouth. He found himself following her guidance, the bands around his chest gradually loosening. As his vision cleared, he became acutely aware of her proximity, one hand on his wrist taking his pulse, the other supporting his back. Jenkins appeared with remarkable speed, a pill bottle and water in hand. His medication, Governor. With practiced efficiency, she helped Thaddeus take the pill, then supported him as the attack slowly subsided. The humiliation of the moment burned worse than the physical pain, to appear so weak before this woman who had already judged him wanting. I'm fine, he managed finally, his voice rough. A minor episode. The look she gave him made it clear she didn't believe him for a second. That was not minor, Mr. Ravenwood. Jenkins knelt beside them. Shall I call Dr. Ellsworth, sir? No. Thaddeus attempted to stand, irrationally determined to regain some dignity. Governor Everly surprised him by offering steady support rather than stepping away. You should rest, she said, the commanding tone returning to her voice. It wasn't a suggestion. I don't need your help. Evidently you do, she countered, though you're too stubborn to admit it. Something in her directness, free from pity or condescension, caught him off guard. For 5 years, people had tiptoed around him, treating him like fragile glass since the accident. Her brisk honesty was unexpected. With Jenkins's help, they guided him to a nearby chair. As he sat, Thaddeus noticed a leather portfolio the governor had dropped during the commotion. Papers had spilled out. Charts, projections, detailed proposals. Not the superficial briefing materials he'd expected. Your economic initiative, he said, gesturing to the scattered documents. She gathered them quickly. It can wait. You came prepared. I always do. A hint of defensiveness colored her voice. Despite what your business journals might say about my qualifications. Thaddeus studied her with new interest. There was something beneath the political veneer, a drive that felt familiar. Before he could analyze it further, Jenkins intervened. Sir should rest now. Governor, perhaps you might return another time. To Thaddeus's surprise, he found himself saying, leave the portfolio. Both Jenkins and the governor looked at him with confusion. Your proposal, he clarified. Leave it. I'll review it. Governor Everly hesitated, then handed Jenkins the leather folio. My direct number is inside. When you're ready to discuss it. As she turned to leave, Thaddeus found himself caught between relief at her departure and an unfamiliar reluctance to end the interaction. She paused at the terrace door. For what it's worth, Mr. Ravenwood, I didn't come here to threaten you. I came because Nevada needs innovators, not just investors. After she left, the terrace felt strangely empty. Thaddeus reached for the portfolio, curiosity overcoming his exhaustion. The initiative was comprehensive, not the surface-level political theater he'd anticipated. She's not what I expected, he admitted to Jenkins. Few formidable people are, sir. Thaddeus glanced toward the driveway where the governor's car was pulling away. Schedule a video call with her office. Next week. Very good, sir. Jenkins allowed himself a small smile. Shall I prepare your notes on the initiative beforehand? That won't be necessary. I'll review it myself. For the first time in years, something had captured his interest beyond the day-to-day operations of his company. It was as unsettling as it was unexpected. You did what? Alicia's voice echoed through the governor's office. You witnessed a man having a cardiac episode and your response was to leave him economic proposals. Meridian continued sorting through budget reports, unfazed by her chief of staff's incredulity. He asked for them, Alicia, and he scheduled a video call for next week. That's unexpected. He's not what the press makes him out to be. Meridian paused, recalling Ravenwood's vulnerability on the terrace, the flash of intelligence when he mentioned her initiative. There's more to him than the reclusive billionaire act. Still, barging into his home was risky. If word gets out, it won't. Meridian fixed her with a pointed look. Only you, my security detail, and Ravenwood's assistant know I was there. Alicia nodded reluctantly. Speaking of security, Senator Hargrove called again. He's very interested in supporting your economic initiative. Vernon Hargrove? When did he become so civic-minded? Since you started pursuing tech sector endorsements. He mentioned he has history with Ravenwood technologies that might be useful to you. Meridian frowned. Something about Hargrove's sudden interest felt calculated. Set up a lunch. I want to hear what he has to say. Across town in his penthouse office, Vernon Hargrove ended a call, his face tight with displeasure. A glass wall displayed his empire. Pinnacle Investments headquarters dominated the Carson City skyline, a testament to his influence. Problem, sir. His assistant hovered near the door. Governor Everly visited Ravenwood yesterday. Vernon swirled amber liquid in a crystal tumbler. Personally, that's surprising. Ravenwood doesn't take meetings. Exactly. Vernon's jaw clenched. 5 years I've worked to erase that man from the playing field, and now the governor hand-delivers an opportunity for his comeback. She doesn't know about your history with him. And she won't. Vernon's voice hardened. This initiative of hers could undo everything if Ravenwood gets involved. Schedule that lunch with her office. And get me the file on the Ravenwood accident. The complete one. Sir, those records were sealed. I don't care. Find them. After his assistant left, Vernon moved to a hidden wall safe behind an abstract painting. Inside lay a small electronic device, outdated now, but 5 years ago, it had been cutting edge. A navigation system disruptor, modified and untraceable. One of many investments he'd made to ensure Thaddeus Ravenwood's downfall. He hadn't intended for Elizabeth and Sophia Ravenwood to be on that plane. That had been unfortunate collateral damage in his war against Thaddeus. But their deaths had achieved what industrial sabotage hadn't. Ravenwood's complete withdrawal from the tech world's front lines. Vernon couldn't allow him to return now. At the Ravenwood estate, Thaddeus sat in his private office. Governor Everly's initiative spread across his desk. He'd spent 3 days analyzing it, far longer than the cursory review he'd initially planned. The proposal was impressively thorough, combining tax incentives with innovation grants and educational partnerships. I've never seen you this engaged with a political proposal, sir, Jenkins remarked, setting down a fresh cup of coffee. Because it's not political. It's pragmatic. Thaddeus tapped a section outlining university research partnerships. This would accelerate development cycles by months. Perhaps the governor has more insight than the press gives her credit for. Perhaps. Thaddeus hesitated, remembering her calm efficiency during his episode on the terrace. What time is the video call tomorrow? 10 a.m., sir. Dr. Ellsworth will be here at 8 for your checkup. Thaddeus nodded, returning to the documents. He found himself wondering about Meridian Everly's background. What path had led a woman her age to the governor's mansion? Such curiosity about another person felt foreign after years of isolation. Jenkins, find me everything on Governor Everly's career. Previous cases she prosecuted, voting records, policy positions. Research for the call. Just background. Jenkins nodded knowingly. Very good, sir. That night, Thaddeus dreamed of the accident for the first time in months. The frantic phone call, Elizabeth's voice. The storm's getting worse, but the pilot says we'll be fine. Then hours later, the devastating news. But this time, the dream shifted. In the wreckage, he found not family photos but strange electronic components, wires disconnected, systems tampered with. He woke gasping, dawn light filtering through the windows. Winston whined beside the bed, sensing his distress. "Just a dream, boy," he murmured, though the unsettling images lingered. Dr. Ellsworth arrived promptly at 8, his examination more thorough than usual. "Your heart rate's improved," he noted, reviewing the monitoring data. "Blood pressure too. Been making lifestyle changes." Thaddeus shrugged. "Working on a new project. Human interaction has remarkable health benefits," the doctor observed dryly. "Speaking of which, Jenkins mentioned you had a visitor. The governor, no less. News travels fast. In medical circles, yes. Her security detail contacted me after your episode." Dr. Ellsworth gave him a pointed look. "She handled it well, from what I hear. Former EMT training." This surprised Thaddeus. The governor was an EMT. Worked her way through undergrad, apparently. Before law school. Another unexpected layer to the woman who had invaded his sanctuary. Thaddeus found himself increasingly intrigued by Meridian Everly, her directness, her competence, her unconventional path. At 9:55, he settled before his video conferencing setup, feeling strangely nervous. He hadn't participated in a scheduled meeting with someone outside his immediate circle in years. The call connected precisely at 10. Governor Everly appeared on screen, her office backdrop tasteful but not ostentatious. Professional without being impersonal. "Mr. Ravenwood, you're looking better. Governor, thank you for the reading material. Have you reviewed it?" Her tone was carefully neutral, but he detected underlying tension. "Thoroughly. It's more substantive than I expected." She raised an eyebrow. "You assumed it would be superficial? Most political initiatives are. I'm not most politicians." The statement held no bravado, only certainty. "That's becoming apparent," he conceded. "Your approach to the research incubator funding is particularly innovative." For the next 40 minutes, they discussed the initiative in detail. What Thaddeus had planned as a perfunctory 15-minute call evolved into a substantive exchange. Meridian Everly matched him point for point, her grasp of both policy and technology impressive. "You understand the tech sector better than most career politicians," he acknowledged. "Necessity. Nevada's future depends on innovation, not just gaming and mining." "And what's your interest in this future?" "Career advancement." Her eyes flashed. "Reducing our state's 23% child poverty rate. Creating jobs that can't be automated away in a decade. Building an economy that doesn't collapse with the next recession." The conviction in her voice caught him off guard. "Ambitious goals. Worth pursuing, nonetheless." She paused. "Your company could be instrumental in this initiative, Mr. Ravenwood. Not just with financial support, but innovation leadership. I don't do public appearances, so I've noticed, but your influence doesn't require physical presence." Something in her approach, direct yet not demanding, made him consider possibilities he'd dismissed for years. Before he could respond, an alert flashed on his secondary monitor. Someone was accessing archived files on the company's server, specifically documents related to the accident investigation. "I need to end this call," he said abruptly. Confusion crossed her face. "Have I said something?" "No. Internal matter. I'll have Jenkins contact your office." After disconnecting, Thaddeus traced the server access. The intrusion was sophisticated, bouncing through multiple proxies. But why would someone be interested in the accident reports now, after 5 years? The dream fragments returned, disconnected wires, tampered systems. A chill ran through him. What if the crash hadn't been an accident? What if someone had orchestrated his family's death? And what if they realized he was starting to ask questions? The Carson City Gala for Children's Medical Research was the social event of the season. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over Nevada's elite as they networked beneath the guise of charity. Meridians circulated through the crowd, shaking hands and making the expected small talk, while mentally counting down until she could leave. "Governor Everly," called a silky voice behind her. Senator Vernon Hargrove approached, champagne flute in hand. In his 60s with silver hair and a perfectly tailored tuxedo, he exuded old money confidence. "You look ravishing this evening." "Senator," she acknowledged coolly. Their lunch the previous week had left her with an inexplicable wariness. "Generous of you to sponsor tonight's event. Children's health care transcends politics," he replied smoothly. "Speaking of politics, any progress with your economic revitalization initiative? I understand Ravenwood Technologies remains uncommitted." Something in his tone caught her attention. "We're in discussions." "Discussions? With Thaddeus himself? That's unexpected. Hargrove swirled his champagne. The man hasn't engaged with the outside world in years. Perhaps he needed the right incentive. Hargrove's smile tightened. Careful, Governor. Ravenwood is unstable. After Elizabeth and Sophia died, he became unpredictable, paranoid. It's why he retreated to that fortress. You knew his family? Elizabeth and I served on several charity boards together. Lovely woman, far more socially adept than her husband. He leaned closer. Between us, there were concerns about Thaddeus's mental state even before the accident. His innovations were brilliant, but increasingly erratic. Before Meridian could respond, a murmur spread through the ballroom. Heads turned toward the entrance. Her security detail straightened, hands moving toward concealed weapons. Thaddeus Ravenwood stood in the doorway. The crowd parted as he moved through the space, his presence commanding despite 5 years of absence from public view. His tuxedo was impeccably tailored, his posture straight, though Meridian detected the slight rigidity that suggested physical discomfort. Their eyes met across the room, and he changed course directly toward her. Governor Everly, he greeted her, his deep voice carrying to those nearby. Whispers erupted around them. Mr. Ravenwood, she replied, masking her shock. This is unexpected. I reconsidered your point about influence not requiring physical presence. Sometimes, exceptions are warranted. She noticed his gaze flick briefly to Hargrove, whose face had drained of color. Senator, Thaddeus acknowledged coldly. Ravenwood, Hargrove managed. What a surprise. After all this time, isn't it? Thaddeus's expression remained neutral, but something dangerous flashed in his eyes. Governor, might I have a word? Privately. She nodded, aware of every eye following them as they moved to a quieter corner of the ballroom. You realize you've just created tomorrow's headlines, she said once they were relatively isolated. That was the point. He glanced back at Hargrove, who was now speaking urgently into his phone. How well do you know the senator? Professionally. He's been surprisingly supportive of my initiative lately. Be careful with him. She studied Thaddeus's face. That's cryptic. It's a warning. His voice lowered. After our call was interrupted, I discovered someone attempting to access sealed files about my family's accident. Files that would only interest someone with very specific knowledge. You think Hargrove was involved? I think coincidences are rare in business and politics. Before she could press further, photographers approached. Thaddeus tensed visibly. Governor, Mr. Ravenwood, a photo together, please. Meridian instinctively stepped closer to him, creating a barrier between Thaddeus and the cameras. Not now, gentlemen. Thaddeus gave her a look of surprise and something like gratitude. I didn't expect a privacy advocate in the governor's office, he murmured as the photographers retreated. I advocate for choices. You didn't choose this attention tonight. Actually, I did. He straightened his cuffs, a gesture she was beginning to recognize as a self-soothing habit. My company will publicly endorse your economic revitalization initiative, with full financial backing. Meridian blinked in surprise. That's a significant reversal. Is it? You made compelling arguments. I analyzed the data. The conclusion was logical. Most people don't make multi-million-dollar decisions based purely on logic. A hint of a smile crossed his face. I'm not most people. No, she agreed, finding herself mirroring his expression. You're not. As the evening progressed, they remained near each other. To Meridian's surprise, Thaddeus handled the inevitable social interactions with practiced ease, though she noticed the subtle signs of strain, the tightness around his eyes, the way his responses became terser as the hours passed. When an overly persistent venture capitalist cornered him about investment opportunities, she saw Thaddeus's hand clench at his side. Without thinking, she touched her earring, then adjusted her watch, a signal to her security detail, who promptly created a diversion with an urgent call requiring the venture capitalist's attention. Thaddeus looked at her questioningly. Security code, she explained quietly. I touch my earring when I need extraction from tedious conversations. Efficient. Necessary in politics. She demonstrated another signal, smoothing back her hair. This one means, wrap it up, we're leaving in 5 minutes. And this? He straightened his already perfect tie. That's actually just fixing your tie, she said, amused. Not anymore. His expression remained serious, but his eyes held unexpected warmth. Now it means the person I'm speaking with is talking nonsense. A laugh escaped her, genuine, unguarded. Did we just develop a secret communication system? Tactical efficiency, he replied, though the corner of his mouth lifted slightly. As the gala continued, they found themselves using these signals with increasing frequency, sharing silent commentary on the pomposity surrounding them. Each exchanged glance felt like a private conversation amid the public spectacle. When Hargrove approached them again, Thaddeus immediately straightened his tie. Meridian had to suppress a smile. "Governor, I hope we might discuss the Initiatives Oversight Committee," Hargrove said, pointedly ignoring Thaddeus. "Actually, Senator," Thaddeus interjected smoothly, "I was just telling the governor about Ravenwood Technology's full endorsement of her initiative, including funding for the research incubator program." Hargrove's facade cracked momentarily. "How forward-thinking of you, Thaddeus, especially given your company's recent instability." "Instability?" Meridian questioned. "Stock fluctuations, management concerns." Hargrove waved dismissively. "The inevitable results of absentee leadership. Our stock hit a 5-year high last quarter," Thaddeus replied calmly. "And our latest neural interface patent has military and medical applications that will revolutionize both fields." The tension between the men was palpable. Meridian watched Hargrove carefully, noting how his gaze kept returning to Thaddeus with barely concealed rage. "If you'll excuse us, Senator," she said, touching her earring. On cue, her chief of staff appeared with an urgent matter requiring the governor's attention. As they walked away, Thaddeus murmured, "Effective system. Years of practice." She glanced back at Hargrove, who was watching them intently. "He's fixated on you. The feeling is mutual." Later, as the event wound down, Meridian found Thaddeus on the terrace, breathing deeply in the cool night air. "Reaching your limit?" she asked, joining him at the railing. "Hours ago." He loosened his bow tie slightly. "I'd forgotten how exhausting these events are. Yet you came. I had my reasons." He turned to face her. "Your initiative deserves support, and I needed to see Hargrove's reaction in person." "Did you learn what you needed?" "More than I expected." His expression darkened. "Be careful, Governor. Hargrove isn't what he seems." "Neither are you," she replied. "The reclusive, bitter billionaire doesn't match the man I've seen tonight." Something vulnerable flashed across his features before he looked away. People create personas when the reality is too painful to display. The raw honesty in his voice resonated with her own carefully constructed public image. Before she could respond, Jenkins appeared at the terrace door. "Sir, the car is ready whenever you wish to depart." Thaddeus nodded. "Thank you for an illuminating evening, Governor." "Meridian," she corrected impulsively. "After creating our own private sign language, I think we've moved past titles." He studied her for a moment, then extended his hand. "Thaddeus." Their handshake lingered a beat longer than necessary. As he turned to leave, cameras flashed from the ballroom, capturing the moment. By morning, their image dominated every news outlet in Nevada. The reclusive tech billionaire and the youngest governor in state history, hand in hand on the moonlit terrace. The speculation was immediate and relentless. What neither the press nor the public realized was that in those brief hours, something far more significant than a political alliance had begun to form. Romance at the gala? Meridian tossed the newspaper onto her desk. They couldn't focus on the $12 million raised for children's medical research instead? Alicia grimaced. "You know how the press works. Reclusive billionaire emerges for love sells better than charity event succeeds. There's nothing romantic between Ravenwood and me. We've had exactly one meeting and one gala conversation. And one very photogenic moment on a moonlit terrace," Alicia added, pulling up the image on her tablet. Even Meridian had to admit the photographer had captured something intimate, their handshake lingering, the soft lighting. Thaddeus's usual stern expression softened as he looked at her. "This complicates things," Meridian sighed. "Not necessarily. Your approval ratings are up 4 points since yesterday. Turns out, humanizing you with a potential romance plays well with voters. I won't exploit public speculation for political gain. Noble, but impractical." Alicia sat across from her. "The narrative is already out there. We can't control it, but we can manage it." Before Meridian could respond, her secure line rang. Her assistant's voice came through the intercom. "Governor, Thaddeus Ravenwood on line 1. Her stomach tightened inexplicably. "I'll take it in private." Alicia raised an eyebrow, but left without comment. Meridian took a deep breath before answering. Mr. Ravenwood, we're back to formalities? His voice carried a hint of amusement. Force of habit in the office. She relaxed slightly. I assume you've seen the papers. Jenkins provides a thorough media briefing each morning. I particularly enjoyed the Carson City Chronicle's headline, Beauty Tames the Beast. I'm sorry about this. Politics comes with invasive press coverage. I'm familiar with media intrusion. His tone darkened momentarily before lightening again. Though I must say, being cast as a romantic lead is new territory. Was he actually making a joke? The Thaddeus Ravenwood who had glared at her on his terrace weeks ago seemed miles removed from this man. How are we handling this? She asked. Efficiently and directly. I've issued a statement clarifying our professional relationship and highlighting the initiative instead. Relief washed over her. Thank you. I also announced Ravenwood Technologies' $10 million commitment to your research incubator program. That should redirect some attention. $10 million. She nearly dropped the phone. Your endorsement was enough. We didn't discuss that level of funding. The project merits it. His tone was matter of fact. And to be honest, the timing was strategic. Hargrove seemed unusually interested in derailing your initiative last night. The mention of Hargrove reminded her of Thaddeus's warning. About the senator, what exactly is your history with him? A long pause followed. It's complicated, and not suitable for phone discussion. I have a lunch hour free tomorrow. Another pause. I don't do public lunches. Who said anything about public? Meridian surprised herself with the suggestion. The governor's residence has excellent security and a private dining room. The silence stretched longer this time. Text the address to this number. I'll be there at noon. After they disconnected, Meridian sat back, wondering what she'd just initiated. A private lunch with Thaddeus Ravenwood was hardly political strategy. It felt personal. Her secure phone buzzed with a text from an unfamiliar number. Looking forward to continuing our conversation. Tar. She found herself smiling before catching her reflection in the window. The woman looking back seemed younger, less burdened by office. She quickly composed herself. Whatever was developing between them had to remain secondary to her responsibilities as governor. Across town, Vernon Hargrove slammed his office door, rage barely contained. The morning papers were strewn across his desk, all featuring the same damnable image. Thaddeus and the governor in what appeared to be an intimate moment. Get me everything on Governor Everly, he barked at his assistant. Personal history, political vulnerabilities, financial records. Everything. Sir, investigating the governor could be seen as, just do it. He dismissed the concerns with a wave. And what about the accident files? Any progress accessing them? Ravenwood's security detected our attempt. His systems are formidable. Hargrove cursed under his breath. 5 years he'd waited, carefully building his influence while Ravenwood withdrew from the world. Now, just as Pinnacle Investments was positioned to absorb Ravenwood's failing subsidiaries, the man himself had emerged, with the governor's support, no less. He couldn't allow it. Not when he was so close. His phone rang, a secure line few knew existed. Sir, we found something in the governor's background check that might interest you. Her former college roommate works for the Justice Department now. She was recently assigned to the cold case division. And why should I care about her roommate? Because 3 weeks ago, this roommate requested the sealed files on the Ravenwood accident investigation. Hargrove straightened. Has she received them? Not yet. Bureaucratic delays. Ensure those delays become permanent. He paused, mind racing. And find me any connection between the governor and the investigation. Any reason she might be looking into it now. After hanging up, Hargrove unlocked his private safe again, removing a small flash drive. On it were the only remaining records of his involvement in the modifications to the Ravenwood family jet. He should have destroyed it years ago, but hubris had made him keep it, a trophy of sorts. Now it represented his greatest vulnerability. The following day, Meridian found herself checking the private dining room arrangements with unusual attention to detail. She'd selected the smaller, more intimate space rather than the formal dining room, ensuring privacy without excessive formality. The security perimeter is established, her head of security confirmed. Mr. Ravenwood's vehicle has been cleared for direct access to the private entrance. Thank you, Jim. She hesitated. This is a confidential meeting. Understood, Governor. No log entries, no staff beyond essential personnel. At precisely noon, Thaddeus arrived. Jenkins drove him in a modest sedan rather than the expected luxury car, clearly chosen to attract minimal attention. Meridian met him at the private entrance herself, dismissing protocol that would have had staff perform this function. Not what I expected, Thaddeus commented, taking in the modest residence. Unlike many governors who opted for grandiose mansions, Meridian had chosen the smaller, historic option among the state's official residences. Disappointed by the lack of columns and fountains? She asked, leading him through a sunlit corridor. Relieved, actually. Ostentation typically correlates with insecurity. The dining room was simple but elegant. A round table by windows overlooking a garden, set for two with understated china and fresh flowers. No staff hovering at our elbows? Thaddeus asked as they settled into their seats. I thought we might prefer privacy for this conversation. She poured water for them both. The food has been prepared, but we'll serve ourselves. He seemed to relax slightly at this information. Thoughtful of you. I pay attention. She uncovered a platter of simple but elegant dishes. So, Hargrove. Thaddeus's expression hardened. Direct as always. It served me well in politics. He studied her for a moment before nodding. Vernon Hargrove and I were rivals long before I retreated from public life. His company, Pinnacle Investments, lost a crucial defense contract to Ravenwood Technologies 15 years ago. The financial hit was significant, but the damage to his reputation was worse. And he's held a grudge ever since. That would be simple. The reality is more complex. Thaddeus's hands tightened around his water glass. 3 years after losing that contract, Hargrove attempted a hostile takeover of my company. He failed, but not before causing significant damage. We've been adversaries ever since. Business rivalries aren't unusual. No, but what happened next was... His voice dropped. In the months before my family's accident, Hargrove began acquiring companies closely aligned with Ravenwood Technologies. Companies with access to our proprietary systems and security protocols. Meridian felt a chill. You think he was involved in the crash? I had suspicions, but no proof. The NTSB investigation ruled it mechanical failure exacerbated by severe weather conditions. His jaw tightened. But recently, certain discrepancies have emerged in the sealed investigation files. What kind of discrepancies? Evidence tampering, missing testimonies. And the lead investigator left the NTSB immediately afterward for a lucrative position at a Pinnacle subsidiary. The implications were staggering. That's, if true, it's criminal. Murder, if true. Thaddeus met her eyes directly. Which is why I need to ask you something, Meridian. Did you request access to the Ravenwood accident investigation files through Justice Department connections? She stared at him, genuinely confused. No. Why would you think that? Because someone did. Someone with high-level clearance and an interest in the case. It wasn't me. She hesitated. But now I'm concerned. If Hargrove's involved as you suspect, and he's suddenly interested in my economic initiative, he's using you. Thaddeus's bluntness was startling. Likely to gain regulatory advantages over my company while creating a public alliance that would deflect suspicion. The pieces aligned with uncomfortable clarity. Hargrove's sudden interest in her initiative, his targeted questions about Ravenwood, his generous campaign contributions. Before she could respond, her secure phone buzzed with an urgent message. She read it, her expression growing grave. What is it? Thaddeus asked. Preliminary vote counts on the initiative. Senator Hargrove has just pulled his support and is actively lobbying against it. She looked up at him, claiming concerns about undue influence from troubled tech monopolies. He's moving faster than I anticipated. Thaddeus's voice was tight. Your public association with me has forced his hand. This isn't about the initiative anymore, is it? It never was. Not for him. Thaddeus stood abruptly. I should go? My presence here is only complicating your political position. Thaddeus, wait. Her security chief appeared at the door. Governor, urgent call from the Senate Majority Leader. And sir, your assistant is requesting you return immediately. Something about unauthorized access to your primary servers. They locked eyes, both recognizing the escalation. Whatever game Hargrove was playing had just become more dangerous. I'll handle the political fallout, Meridian said quietly. You secure your systems. He nodded once, tension evident in every line of his body. As he turned to leave, she impulsively caught his arm. Be careful. If Hargrove is behind all this and he feels cornered, I've lived with this shadow for 5 years, Thaddeus replied, his voice low. It's time to step into the light, whatever the cost. After he left, Meridian stared at the half-eaten lunch, mind racing with implications. If Hargrove had orchestrated the death of Thaddeus's family and was now actively working against her initiative, how far would he go to protect himself? And more disturbingly, why did the thought of Thaddeus in danger make her heart constrict with such unexpected intensity? A Heart to Govern. Chapter 7. Buried Truths. Jenkins had served the Ravenwood family for over 20 years. He'd witnessed Thaddeus's rise to tech prominence, his marriage to Elizabeth, the birth of Sophia, and the devastating accident that had hollowed him out. Now, watching his employer hunched over accident reports in his study at 3 in the morning, Jenkins made a decision. Sir, there's something you should know. Thaddeus looked up, exhaustion etched on his face. I've been conducting my own investigation, Jenkins confessed. For years now. What? Jenkins placed a thin file on the desk. I never believed the official report. The weather that day wasn't severe enough to cause catastrophic failure in a well-maintained aircraft. Thaddeus stared at the file, then at his loyal servant. Why didn't you tell me? You were incapacitated by grief. By the time you emerged from it, your retreat from the world was complete. I didn't wish to drag you back into pain without concrete evidence. And now you have evidence. I have patterns. Jenkins opened the file, revealing meticulously documented connections. 3 Ravenwood Technologies subsidiaries suffered security breaches in the months before the crash, all traced back to shell companies owned by Pinnacle Investments. Thaddeus scanned the documents, his expression darkening. This shows corporate espionage, not murder. Turn to the last page. The final document was a personnel file, Walter Simmons, avionics technician, employed by the private airfield where the Ravenwood jet was serviced. Terminated for negligence 3 months after the crash. Currently employed by Aerial Systems Incorporated, a Pinnacle subsidiary. I tracked his financial records, Jenkins continued. A week after the crash, he purchased a vacation home in Tahoe. Cash transaction. Thaddeus's hands trembled as he processed the implications. He tampered with the plane. I believe so, sir. But we need proof. Mr. Simmons recently developed a drinking problem. He frequents the Pines Tavern every Thursday night. A dangerous energy radiated from Thaddeus. Tomorrow is Thursday. Yes, sir. I took the liberty of ensuring your schedule is clear. Across town, Meridian was facing her own crisis. The Senate committee had voted to delay her initiative indefinitely, citing concerns about private sector influence. Hargrove's fingerprints were all over the suspension. Her secure phone rang. Director Catherine Landon from the Justice Department, college roommate and lifelong friend. Kathy, please tell me you have something. The Ravenwood files were sealed at the highest levels, Catherine replied. But we found a discrepancy in the chain of custody. Digital evidence was logged, then removed before final analysis. What kind of digital evidence? Flight recorder data. The publicly released transcript shows mechanical failure, but the raw data file was checked out by the lead investigator and never returned. Clifford Reese. Yes, who now works for Pinnacle Investments. Meridian finished. Can you get me a warrant? Not without more evidence. Hargrove has too many friends in Washington. Then we need to find another way. That evening, Thaddeus entered the Pines Tavern in disguise, baseball cap, casual clothes, 3-day stubble. No one would expect to find the reclusive billionaire in a dive bar. He located Simmons easily, mid-50s, weathered face, drinking alone. Mind if I join you? Thaddeus asked, sliding into the booth. Simmons shrugged. Free country. Is it? Thaddeus removed his cap. Even for murderers? Recognition dawned slowly on Simmons's face, followed by fear. I don't know what you're talking about, he stammered. 5 years ago. My wife. My daughter. A mechanical failure you were paid to create. Simmons's eyes darted toward the exit. My security team is outside, Thaddeus said quietly. This conversation is happening one way or another. He'll kill me if I talk, Simmons whispered. He'll try. I can protect you. You couldn't protect your own family. The words hit Thaddeus like a physical blow. He fought to maintain control. I'm offering one chance. Immunity, new identity, financial security. Or I turn this evidence over to federal prosecutors. He placed Jenkins's file on the table. Your choice. An hour later, Thaddeus had a recorded confession detailing how Hargrove had paid Simmons to sabotage the navigation system, making it fail during the flight. The target had been Thaddeus himself. Elizabeth and Sophia weren't supposed to be on board. The original plan was simply to scare Thaddeus, not kill anyone. He got cold when he heard they died, Simmons said shakily. Paid me triple to keep quiet. But he's been watching me ever since. Meridian was working late when her security detail announced an urgent visitor. Jenkins, she said in surprise as Thaddeus's assistant entered her office. Governor, Mr. Ravenwood sent me. He handed her a flash drive. He said to tell you this contains enough evidence to warrant federal investigation into Senator Hargrove. Where is he? Securing the witness. He felt it prudent to keep you at arm's length from the more unorthodox aspects of evidence gathering. She understood immediately. Plausible deniability. Indeed. Jenkins hesitated. There's more. The cyber attack on Mr. Ravenwood's servers originated from the governor's mansion network. That's impossible. My security was compromised. We traced the intrusion to Ms. Hanson's credentials. Alicia? Meridian felt the floor shift beneath her. Her trusted chief of staff. There must be a mistake. Mr. Ravenwood thought you'd say that. That's why he asked me to give you this. Jenkins handed her a second flash drive. Financial transfers from Pinnacle shell companies to an offshore account in Ms. Hanson's name, dating back 3 years. The betrayal cut deep. Alicia had been with her since the campaign, had helped shape her policies, had access to everything. The question now, Jenkins said gently, is how you wish to proceed. Meridian straightened, her decision immediate. Call the Attorney General and tell Thaddeus to bring his witness directly to the federal building. I'll meet him there. As Jenkins left, Meridian stared at the evidence in her hands. The path forward was clear but dangerous. Going after a senator with Hargrove's connections could destroy her politically. And yet, the alternative, allowing him to escape justice for murdering Elizabeth and Sophia Ravenwood, was unthinkable. Her phone buzzed with a text from Thaddeus. Whatever happens next, thank you for believing me. She replied simply, I'll see you at the federal building. We end this tonight. 6 months after Vernon Hargrove's arrest, the headlines had finally shifted from scandal to substance. Governor's economic initiative creates 3,000 new tech jobs, replaced senator indicted in billionaire family murder plot. Justice had been served. Hargrove was awaiting trial, facing multiple charges including conspiracy to commit murder. For Thaddeus, vindication brought little comfort. The truth couldn't restore Elizabeth and Sophia, but it had offered something unexpected, a path forward. The neural interface demo impressed the Defense Department, Jenkins reported, entering Thaddeus's newly redesigned office. Gone was the dark, isolated space, replaced by glass walls and natural light. And the medical applications? Thaddeus asked, adjusting his tie, a habit that now carried different associations. Children's Medical Center begins trials next month. The governor's office called to confirm your appearance at the ribbon cutting. Thaddeus nodded, surprising himself with how naturally he'd returned to public life. The man who had hidden from the world for 5 years now regularly attended events, gave interviews, and even testified before Congress on technology ethics. The change wasn't merely professional. The grounds of the estate had been transformed, Elizabeth's gardens restored, Sophia's treehouse rebuilt as a memorial reading nook. Signs of life had returned to what had been a mausoleum of grief. At the Nevada State Capitol, Meridian reviewed polling data with her new chief of staff. Your approval rating is at 68%, Maya reported. And the Ravenwood partnership is particularly popular. Meridian smiled. Partnership had taken on multiple meanings lately. What had begun as political alliance had evolved into something neither of them had anticipated. Their weekly strategy sessions had become dinners. Professional respect had deepened into friendship, then something more. They moved cautiously, both aware of the wounds they carried and the public scrutiny they faced. Her phone buzzed with his message. Still on for Lake Tahoe this weekend? Their private retreat had become something of a tradition. Time away from cameras and expectations, where they could simply be Thaddeus and Meridian rather than the tech visionary and the governor. Wouldn't miss it, she replied. That evening, as sunset painted the lake in amber and gold, they sat on the dock where they'd first begun to trust each other. I received Elizabeth's case files today, Thaddeus said quietly. The Justice Department officially closed the investigation. Meridian took his hand. Does it feel like closure? Not closure, but perhaps permission to continue living. They sat in comfortable silence as dusk settled around them. I have something for you, he said finally, retrieving a small box from his pocket. Inside wasn't a ring. That would come later, but a simple gold compass. It's beautiful, she said, opening it. My father gave one to my mother when they married. He said love is knowing your true north. Thaddeus's voice held rare emotion. You helped me find mine again. Meridian closed her hand around the compass, her political composure momentarily abandoned. Are we really doing this? Us. I believe we already are. He smiled, the real smile that had become less rare these days. Unless you have objections, Governor? She answered by leaning forward and kissing him. Their first, despite months of careful courtship. As stars appeared above Lake Tahoe, two people who had been defined by their wounds began writing a different story. Not one of tragedy and isolation, but of healing, purpose, and unexpected love. A story of two hearts learning to govern not just a state or a company, but a shared future neither had dared imagine.